Yeah, good morning everyone. So, how about yesterday's session? Is everything clear to you regarding whatever we have done with NumPy and Pandas? NumPy I went a bit fast, but while I am doing Pandas, whatever methods that are quite useful to us, that we are going to see it. Okay, whatever was not much relevant to our Pandas course, that I have been a little bit fast over it. So anyways, if you have got any doubts, we can clarify that by the end of the session. Okay, so as of now, till whatever steps that we have done, are you clear with it? Right? So what did we learn yesterday? In Pandas, because I am just going to continue with that. So we started first by creating data frames. So what is the name for a one-dimensional data frame? Series. And how about two-dimensional? And what are various methods that you will be using in Pandas? What you have seen so far? Attributes, columns, shape, index, size, right? All of these you have seen. Methods, can you list me a few? Copy, read underscore, CSV, flatten, info, describe, copy. Okay, so all of these are okay with you, right? So we are continuing with that. Yesterday we saw Pandas introduction, Pandas data structures. Under that we have seen what is series, what is a data frame, and how to create them and work with them. Okay. Then we created a data frame. We also saw attributes and methods. We just saw a few methods of data frame. We are yet to see the others. After we complete that, we will be seeing how to access the data in a data frame using indexing and slicing. And then finally, we will be seeing the various data types. After this is done, today's agenda is to work with exploratory data analysis. Okay, so basically that is your meat of data pre-processing and then imputing missing values and everything. Fine, but for that you should be aware of Pandas. So as I am just giving you a gist of what all methods you are using in Pandas, once we dive into EDA, we will be seeing how these methods from NumPy and Pandas we are actually using them. Okay, right. So as I continue today's class, methods of data frame, the next method that we are going to see is isNull method. So what is isNull method giving you? isNull method is going to give you if there are any missing values in your data frame, right? If there are any missing, all null objects which are present in your data frame. So how do you find out? It just gives you a Boolean value which is either true or false. I mean, if the element is null value, how do you represent a null value in Pandas? Nan or Na. Okay, so whenever you have these elements in your data frame, it is going to give you a true. Otherwise, it is going to give you a false. Okay, so it will be something like this. If for my data frame, if I really want to know if there are any null values, then it just gives me false, false, and it gives me true wherever it is present. I've got false over there. Okay, but then how do we know what is the count of it? So what you have to do is you have to use a sum method with that. So total number of missing values will be given to you. Clear with that? Fine. So are you doing this with me? Yeah. Now suppose you want to remove these missing values. If once you have detected the missing values, you want to remove these missing values, then for that you have a special method, we call it as drop now. Okay, so any null values it is going to drop it for you. Drop now. You don't do drop now right now as of now, because to work with this, create a copy, create a deep copy, and then you do. Okay, so please hold on. We'll do this once we go for EDA, because that will be a flow. Once you change anything, then probably EDA will be an issue. Just go for it. Just listen. Drop now removes any missing values. Okay, right. Now just have a look. Data frame dot drop now. Okay, axis equal to 0. What does axis equal to 0 means, guys? So you are going row wise. okay, in the direction of the rows, and then in place equal to false. If I do in place equal to false, the data frame values will not be replaced with removal of missing values. Are you clear? So your data frame remains the same. It just removes at that instant and give you. Okay. But once I make that in place as true, then everything will be discarded from your main database. Clear with that, everybody? So you can see this is normally data frame dot drop now when in place equal to false, and the other one is drop now in place equal to true, where it is reflecting in your data frame. If you want, you can really try. Okay, once we are doing in EDA, you can create another data frame out of it and work with it. If you want, you can try with me. Okay, so this is how. So don't forget to put in place equal to true once you are working with your actual data if you don't want any missing values with it. Okay guys, clear with this? So is null and drop now are two important methods that we are going to use in EDA. Okay, drop any missing values, first find if there are any missing values and then drop any missing values. Okay, right. Next is duplicated. Please don't try this one. Okay, so duplicated will return a Boolean series denoting a duplicated row. You can try to check if they are duplicated, but next method will be dropping duplicates. Okay, because I don't think in your data set there are any duplicate values. Just have a look if there are any duplicate values for you in your data set. The data set that we are working with, just check if you have any duplicated values. Data frame name dot duplicated, sorry. Just have a look. So it just again mask it with true or false if there are duplicated rows or not. Duplicated rows, multiple entries coming from multiple source. Okay, if it is something like that. I don't think it is. Done that? Yeah. Just check for the count, you will get it. Same, like how you detect is null, it gives you true and false. You want to know what is the count of missing value? You will use is null dot sum, find out duplicated dot sum. What is the answer? What is the answer? 0. So that means there are no duplicated items in your data frame. So anyways, if at all there is some data set where you have got some duplicated values, then again you will be using this method, which is drop underscore duplicated. So it will drop any duplicated values which are present in your data set. It removes the duplicates. So this is the syntax. Just have a look onto the screen. Because your data set does not have any duplicated values, so it may not work for you. Okay? Right. Now, the next one is computations on data frame. Some important method that we are going to use is group by method. Now this group by method will be useful to you if you really want to see what are the common things that you can group your attributes with. Like for an example, here onto the screen, I am trying to group my column name called met color, okay, with respect to mean. Okay, so you can see here what is happening now when I just did that. What is happening, guys? I am now comparing the met color attribute or the feature of my data frame with the other data frame with respect to the mean value. Are you understanding? So that means what? If I am a marketing manager, this will be very important for me. Why? Because if I am selling some car, met color 0 means non-metallic color and met color 1 means it is a metallic color of a car. So what is the price that I am going to sell for it or get for it? So mean value means average value of that car will be around 10,159 if it is a non-metallic color. If it is a metallic color, it is coming around 11,000 change. Clear? So it lets me know that what could be the average price if it is a non-metallic color. Similarly, you can try this for automatic gearbox. If it is 0, it's a manual gearbox. You remember yesterday's data set? I hope it is in your mind, right? So if it is automatic, it was value 1. If it was manual gearbox, it is value 0. So you can even check what could be the mean value of the price if it is a manual gearbox or an automatic gearbox. Are you clear? So with respect to the various other attributes of your data frame, one single attribute you can compare with respect to the value that you want, an average value or a median value, whatever you want, you can just go for it and group it accordingly. Clear with this? So are you clear why do you use a group by method? Just to understand and brief overview what is your other attributes relevant to. Okay? Next. Now, the next step is to access this data frame. So obviously we are going to use your indexing and slicing. So you are all very good with slicing and indexing, it will not take much time for you. So anyways, the same slicing operator, which is your square bracket, and then a dot operator, we use it for indexing, okay? And then it provides quick and easy access to pandas data structure. Now we will see here, there are certain methods which help you to access the data frame, because data frame is a big quantity, right? So there are two ways, guys, where you can work with it. Because you are studying data frame by looking at its description, information, by looking at its head and tail, you already now are familiar with what are its column names. So that means, acha, now tell me what type, because yesterday's machine learning session is a bit over now. Your data is labeled data or unlabeled data? Labeled data. So you are familiar with the labels of your column now, right? So you can access your data frame through labels or locations. Okay, so if you are moving with label, then probably you will use at method. Are you clear with that? So if you really want to access a scalar value, then you will have to go for at method. So scalar lookup, you are familiar with scalar and vector, right? So when it is a scalar quantity and you want to look up to that quantity, use at method. Okay, for an example, here onto the screen, the same thing you can work with me. The data frame name dot at method, and you have to work with not parenthesis. You have to work with square braces there, because you are going for slicing and indexing. Okay, so inside the bracket, give the row number. If I want to access fifth row, my rows are actually starting from index 0. So I should give there 4 and label. What is the label of my column? Say fuel type if I want to access. So there I have given 4, fuel type. So it gives you the value. What is the value for that particular label at that row? Okay. So please do that. Right. Now if I want to know, go for integer based scalar lookups, means what? If I want to give instead of label fuel type, if I want to go for that index of the column, okay, then what should I do? I should use I at. When I am using I means integer scalar here, okay, not scalar exactly, I is integer. If I am using at, that means it is a scalar lookup. So I at becomes integer scalar. If I am using only at, I am bound to use label name there. If I am using I at, I am bound to use index number of that label. Clear with this, everybody? So here in the second example, I have taken 5, 2. So fifth means 5 means actually sixth row, and 2 is what? 0, 1, 2. The third column, what is the third column for you? Kilometers. Okay, so instead of directly specifying kilometer, there you are giving indexing. Now this will be beneficial when you are having a very humongous data frame, where you cannot remember all these columns by your name, so that at that time you go for I at. But then mind it, this is for scalar lookup. You are not going to go for any vector values, fine. So anyways, are you all with me? You are done with this? Right. See, if I am fast, just let me know, okay. Now, if you want to access a group of rows and columns, you want to go for a vector accessing together, then you go for LOC method or lock method, okay. So lock method, same thing. If you remember the label and you want to access by label, use lock method. If you remember the index of your label, then you go for iLock. Okay, the same way I am just putting over the examples. Like for an example, I want to display all the rows of my column called fuel type. So I am going to use data frame name S Toyota dot lock inside square brackets all the rows, so that's why I am putting there colon, and then the label name. What is my label name? Fuel type. You can view any label like that. Okay, so you want to work with only one feature of your data frame. Then you should go for lock method, so that entirely those values belonging to that column is in front of you. Okay, and if you don't remember the label name, what you are going to go for, guys? iLock. So please do that on your own. Do the iLock thing on your own. Go for kilometer, all the values of kilometer. So what you would give? What you would give? S Toyota dot iLock, all the rows, column, comma, 2, right? Now that was one way. Now here I can even select, look here, I can use the same lock and iLock function to view the values of multiple columns as well, multiple labels. So this is one example on your screen where I am selecting multiple columns on the third row. So what I am doing there, same lock function, I am passing 3, comma, inside the list I have to pass on my label names. So I am using there 3 labels, 3 column labels, fuel type, HP and kilometer. So you can see very clearly how nicely the output has been given to me. Okay, so a new data frame now I am able to see of that row, of that particular row, what are the various features that it is having. Okay, so this is one way of exploring any new data set that you have. Randomly select any row and check for all the column values for it as a tabular column. Okay, so this really helps when you explicitly want to work with a certain specific data in your data set. Then go for lock or iLock. If you remember the label name, go for lock. If you remember the index of that label, go for iLock. So you are done with this? You are able to do this? Yeah? Please try to do it hands-on because it helps you, the various ways where you can handle your data. Because as I told you yesterday, this is what you are doing is pre-processing your data. You are trying to pre-process your data. You are trying to figure out if your data is noisy, if your data is standard, if anything is missing, if anything is duplicated. You are trying to filter out your data before you give it to your machine learning model. So exploring your data is very, very important, right? Now, the same thing you can see now I have chosen here iLock. So what I am doing now in the iLock thing, I again did lock, but lock row wise. I did row wise, not column wise. So what I am able to do now? From 1 to 3. So that, see, when I made you this data frame, when I made you learn this data frame from the starting, I only gave you this thing that you have to see the head, you have to see the tail, or you can see a few samples. But if you specifically want to work with the first 100 samples, then give head of 100. That is not a problem. But in between, if I want to work from 200 to 250, then, so I should make use of this lock function over there. Okay? Randomly it can give you sample, but if you really want to go in a range, then you go for lock function for accessing your data frame. Clear with this? So you can use any value over there. Now, same thing. Using iLock function, if you want to know the last value of your data frame, the last row of your data frame, what will you do? iLock of -1. So you can move for backward indexing. So with this you will learn that backward indexing is possible even in pandas. Not only in NumPy but also in pandas. Fine? Check out. I hope you are all doing this with me. Look at the difference between these two things that I am doing. What is the difference? I am accessing the same last row, guys. I am accessing the same last row of my data frame. But what is the difference here? Difference here is in the way the data is being projected as an output. Yes. One is series, one is data frame. Exactly. Understood this? Everybody? So where is it series? The series is with that -1 where I did not provide any colon at the end. So it is reflecting, the output is reflecting like a series data, right? But when I give it as a colon there, now it is reflecting like a data frame output. Understood guys, that I am accessing the same last row, but see the difference in the output with just the presence of a colon there. Clear everyone? Right. Now, I think yesterday I spent some enough time on this, so it's just a gist that I am giving to you about the D type. You have got an object. When will you have an object guys? When it shows D type as an object, pandas? When you have a mixed numbers with it, int, float or any character with it. If it is a mix of int and float, it will show you as float. So like that you have object int 64, float 64 by default, no 32s. Okay, 64 and 64, and then bool, date, time, time delta and category. Category is also one of the data types. Again I am emphasizing. Why? What part of your data frame should have this? Category. Category is also a data type. Is it showing anywhere in your data set? Either it is showing float, int or object. But guys, where it should be categorical data? For your data set of Toyota? Fuel type, color. So all of these are actually categories, but we are still working on it. We'll see that. So you can see data type, one type of data type is category as well. Clear with this, everybody? So as of now, for our data set, we require to see the data types which are int, float, object and category. Okay? Now, this is the difference between category and object for you. Okay? So category is a string variable which is consisting of only a few different values, whereas an object will be assigned, whereas a column will be assigned an object if it is a mixed data type. It can have numbers and as well as strings. So got the difference between these two, and converting a string variable to a categorical variable will save memory for you. That's it. Okay. Whereas for an object, if a column contains nan or a blank cell, by default it will turn to object. So filtering out your missing values, okay, suppose fuel type in your data frame, if there are some missing values, you should find out. After you have found out, if you just simply convert it into category, all it does is saves memory for you. Okay, so that's the advantage of conversion. Then important part is categorical variable will take fixed and limited possible values, whereas for string length is not fixed in object. Because for an object we are telling it's a mixture of different data types. So there is no bounded limit to that. It is altering. But for a category we are fixing it for a certain category of either int or float, whatever it is. So there is a fixed memory for that. All it does, it saves memory for you. Fine? Next. Now, you can select the data types based on your data frames. Like for an example here, if I use select underscore D type, return a subset of columns based on the data types. Which of all the columns are belonging to int? Which of all the columns of your data frame are belonging to the type object? Basically, this will help you to understand the presence of null values, NaNs. Because if NaN is there, then definitely it will be treated as an object. So when you call a data frame with all the columns having object, you will come to know these are the columns that I should reflect on. Because if it is int and float, definitely there should not be any problem with it because it is a sorted one. But if it is an object, you will have to put your brain onto it that okay, this is a kilometer column but it is still showing object Y. So I'll have to work on it like that. So you can you try this? For your data frame, please call upon all the columns which are including object. So for that, give the syntax S Toyota. What is your data frame name? What you have given? Dot select underscore D types. Inside the braces, include the data type. So data type that I want here is object, guys. Please do that. Done with it? Now you can see here, once you get those object thing very clearly, 1432 row of kilometer, 1434 rows of kilometer. So you can see there are some missing values and null values and unique values of question marks, right? Because of that, it has been taken as an object. So that's our primary focus. Okay. Then, this is an important method, guys. What is it? Info. So what does info give you? Info will return you a concise summary of your data frame. So how it will be like? Yeah. So you can see here how many null values, non-null values are there for fuel type? 1336. So how many how many are the things that you have to work on? 100, because 1436 was the size of your data frame. Now look at met color, 1286, non-null values. So remaining are null values that you have to work with. Okay. So as of now I can see column age, column kilometer, column fuel type and met color that I need to work on. Okay, 4 of them. Anything else that I need to work on, guys? As of now these 4. Okay, let's see. Now I have highlighted here 1436 object type for doors. So when I saw only non-null objects, I could identify only 4 columns. But then when I saw it with respect to data type, doors was showing me only the values of the number of doors of a car. But then what it is here? So there is something wrong with this. Okay? As well, you have same with kilometers. 1436 all values are there. There are no null values with kilometers. But what it is? Object. Kilometer should be in float, no? Then why it is object? Okay? So now there are not 4 columns that I should work with. How many columns? How many columns that I work with now? Age, kilometer, fuel type, HP, met color. HP again it is full. There are no null values. But then again it is showing me as object. Horsepower should be almost a float value. But it is showing me an object value. So almost I have to work here with from age till automatic and then doors. So how many columns together? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 columns. So just when I saw with null values, I could identify 4 columns that I should explore. But when I saw D type, then it added to 3 more. So these are the 2 important things that you must work on while you are working with any data frame. Check for null values, check for the D types, and then you will be starting to explore your data set by filtering it out with possible missing values or by any repeated values or by any typecasting that you have to go for. Okay? Right. That's it, I think I covered. Now, how do I know? See, now kilometer. Kilometer was showing me 1436 values, right? That means fully it is packed. There are no null values. But it is showing object. That means what? There are some values to it which are wrong, which have to be identified. For that reason it is showing object. So to identify such unique values, you have to use unique method. Okay? So unique method will return the unique elements of a column. For an example, here I have taken HP. HP was also showing object. So you can see here clearly what made this as an object. What are the values that it is having? All are numbers except 4 question marks. So because character came into picture there, automatically the data type was converted from int to object. They are all int, no, the remaining things, right? So I identified that there is some problem with HP. Now I am moving into EDA, guys, slowly. Okay? So I identified there are these question marks which have to be removed. Although it is showing a non-null value, but this is a null value. Obviously, it's of no use to me. Okay? Next, what am I supposed to do? I will filter one more column with respect to data type. What was one more column? Kilometer. That was also showing me object. It was also full. Right now I am working with only 1436 full columns. You know, all the entries were full to it. So I am just seeing unique value of kilometer. So what do you see here? 2 question marks. There were 4 here and then here there are 2. They are of no use to us. Okay? Check for doors. Doors was also showing the object data type. So look at there, doors does not have any question mark, but what it does have? It does have character values, it does have strings with it in place of numbers. So now what do you understand? What is your strategy now? This is only for non-null objects we are doing. We still didn't go for missing values. Okay, now we'll do that. So anyways, let's check one more column before we proceed. Actually, now what is this? For the met color column, what is this unique value that you are getting? Nan values. Okay? Null value it is. For automatic, is there any null value there? Is there any question mark there? Check clearly and tell me your info. What is the information about automatic column? All columns are filled. 1436. What is the data type? Int. So there is no object. That's why there is no unique value when you put on a unique method there. Everything is filled with either 0 or 1. Okay, I'll get back to this. This is also something which you must work with. As of now it looks clean. As of now it looks clean. Okay, because right now I am only bothered on null values and unique values. I am not going much in depth. Right. Now I am moving on to EDA, guys. Okay, I am done with Panda's important methods. I am moving on to EDA. Okay, so EDA is exploring the data and discovering the insights. EDA is exploratory data analysis. It stands for exploratory data analysis. It helps you to explore the data and get some insights about the data. So what insight did you get? Because I started a brief of it when I gave you Panda. So what are some insights that you got out of your data set that I shared with you? What are the insights? Tell. It has got some missing values. It has got some null values. It has got few unique values. That's why few of the columns are termed as objects. So basic insights you got them, right? Now we will get to know what are the various variables and we will also get to know the relations between them when we go for EDA. Okay, it's not only about handling the data or pre-processing the data, but EDA, one of the major function is which attribute of a data frame is dependent on what, which feature is dependent on what, or in your layman's language, which column is dependent on what. Like price column, will it be dependent on the number of kilometers that the vehicle has run? It's a second-hand vehicle system data that we received. The person is trying to sell the second-hand car. So obviously, The price is going to be dependent onto the kilometer. So like that, on what are all these features dependent on, these columns dependent on, what is the relation between them, that we are going to explore by using ADA, okay? And also in this particular thing we are going to visualize the data, right? Already information is there and I explained you about this. So these are all the columns that you are supposed to work with right now. Now, we already saw this. Now please all of you, on your data frame now, the first thing what you do is work with a good copy of data frame now. Create a copy of your data frame, okay, a fresh copy, and get unique values. Get unique values for all the columns that we are having problem with. The 7 columns that I listed, no? Age, kilometer, HP. For all of them, please find out unique value. That's the first step that we are moving in ADA. Okay? We already saw what is this data set is about long back. Please create a copy of your data frame. That should not affect your original data. And find out unique values for all the column guys. So I'll give you 5 minutes of time. 7 columns, find out unique values. Everybody should be working with me. There are no null values because you already removed them. We did drop na. We did drop na, no? That's why I am telling. You downloaded from Kaggle, Toyota dataset. Huh. Okay, anyways, if you are working with without null values also, that's okay, Nana, not a problem. Because you already saw now how to work with. Listen, if you have dropped your null values also, not a problem. Okay, just find out unique values. We'll deal with missing values here. No problem with null values. If you have used drop now, you can continue with the same notebook. Just check for unique values. If given a fresh data set, first check for null values, use drop now, and then proceed with missing values. Okay? Strategy is clear, no? All of you, are you doing this with me? Is your output similar to that what I am showing there? You use drop now. You downloaded wrong data set. Okay. Type Toyota data set in Kaggle. And from Kaggle you download it. 4 to 5 data. Toyota.csv should be the name. And check for the rows and the columns. Is it the same? For all 4 it shouldn't be same. Take it. No problem. Work with a new data set. What is there? If you are having any trouble, just let me know. Null values. Okay. The first data set that you get will be the correct one. Toyota data set Kaggle, if you press it in Google, it shows you the first link on the Kaggle. I am working with the same.
If you are using df1.unique using from pandas data frame unique, you are not getting any null values. But if we use numpy and unique, we are getting null value. How should we know which one is correct? This kilometer I use unique from data frame method. I'm not getting any question mark now. But there you use from using numpy, you got question mark.
Yes.
Now how should I know whether this
Because I am changing that into an array and working. So better go for array and go for it. Yes. So one more important thing guys. Like, what is the new thing that you saw onto the slide? Am I directly working there with the data frame? Am I directly using pandas there? So using numpy, because unique is a method that I am extracting from numpy there. So first it converts your data into array and then finds out unique values. Please try and do that if you are able to get some unique values now. Use unique values from numpy. See what I did there? np.unique. np.unique and then as a parameters my data frame data. Are you able to find anything now? Yes? Now you got it? Yeah. So it's the same thing. If sometime data frame does not by itself gives you a unique value, okay, then you can call upon NumPy and work with it. So you can see, yeah, all of you, this is something very interesting, one good observation by your dear friend. Okay, look at the first thing that I did there for HP. I directly called upon a unique method from pandas. It gave me unique value of 4 question mark. But the same unique method was not able to give me question marks out of kilometer. So if that is the case, then call upon NumPy, use unique method from NumPy and pass this data frame as your parameter. Then you are able to list your missing values. I think it should come now. Okay, so there are 2 different ways in which you can identify unique values. Please keep that in your mind. Either use direct unique method or call unique from NumPy and pass your data frame as parameters. Okay? Right. Are you done? Or do I have to wait a bit? How many of you are done this? Very few hands. What about remaining? 3 columns you have finished or all the columns you have finished? All. Very good. Please speed up everybody. Okay. Now, can I go for the other one, guys? Are you able to do at least 3 to 4 you are able to do? 3 to 4 columns you did? That's well and good. Okay? Okay, all of you. Have a look over here. This is something very, very important that you must learn. Okay? How do we import the data with other forms of missing values? Okay? While importing the data with other forms of missing values. Other forms of missing values is what in your data set? Double question mark, 4 question marks in place of NaN and Na. Pandas will identify NaN and Na. Okay, but these unique values, you have to work with them. So for that, what I am doing here is, while I am reading my data, just have a look, what did I do? While I read my data, I bypassed my index column yesterday. You all remember this? 0th column I bypass. Then what I am going to do here? Null values. Na values may I am adding in place of already Na values may it will be Na and Nan. Now I am adding what, guys? What I learned from my unique values. What did I learn after I passed the unique method to my data frame? I got that there were 2 question marks and 4 question marks also as unique values. So they are null values basically. So in my null values, I am just including 2 question marks and 4 question marks as well. I didn't put 3 question marks there. Why? Because there was nothing as such when I identified the unique values. There were only 2 unique values with respect to null values. 2 question marks and 4 question marks. I am just including that. Suppose you are working with a new data set again in future. If you got some other value, just include it there. And then reread your data. Clear with this, guys? So what will happen with this now? Why am I doing this? First question. Yes. See, if I don't add this to this Na values here, then these will not be treated as null values. And when I am replacing the null values, these will not be replaced. And it will affect the precision by which I am predicting my value. Are you clear? Fine. That is the reason while I am reading my data frame again, I have to include these as null values. So it will affect my information summary now. Be prepared for that. Okay? All of you, are you doing this with me? Reread your data frame by including null value as double question marks and 4 question marks as well. Apart from NaN and Na. And then create a copy, fresh copy. Create fresh copy of your data frame. Now I am calling my data frame as S Toyota. It's up to you, whatever name that you want to give. because I don't want to damage my original data, so I am creating a deep copy and working with it. So you are with me? You read it with the missing values as question marks? Yeah? Right. Now guys, now this becomes very interesting from here on. Okay? Just have a look guys. Special characters like question mark were not taken as null values before. So this was the summary. What was the summary guys? Look at the kilometer column. It was showing object, but it was all filled. 1436, right? Look at HP, fully filled, 1436, but still an object. But why were they object? Because of special characters like question mark. Now what did you do to overcome that? You included those question marks as null values. Now we will see the change. What is the change guys? So you can see now the data type of my kilometer is changed to float. But what happened to the non-null values guys? 14, 21. So how many special characters were there? 15. So 15 values you were able to identify as null values. Clear now? Earlier it was fully filled, but now you filtered it. So this is pre-processing of data that we are doing guys using EDA. Okay? Otherwise what happens if I give these values and create a model out of it? It will not be accurate. Fine? Okay, right, next. Check for the other one, HP. HP, again now data type has changed from object to float. And number is from 1436 to 1430. So 6 values were null there. Clear everybody? Right. Now, met color and automatic. I told that I'll get back to you on this, right? So met color and automatic, okay, I'm trying to convert them to object data type. So as type function, we use this in NumPy also, okay, as type conversion. So I'll be using this to convert from one data type to another. That's the syntax. And I am now changing met color and automatic. You should be doing automatic also. Do that. You didn't ask me why I am changing this. You did not ask me why I am changing this. There were no missing values there. Yes, because it's a category. Categorical form it should be. But it was showing as an int or a float value. Int value probably, I think 0 and 1, right? So int value. I can't work with that. It's a categorical data. So I should typecast it. So what I am doing here? Changing met color as type object. And again I am checking the data type of object. So I am getting the data type as O. So it's converted to object. Madam, are you clear why I am changing it to object? You seem to be very confused. You are clear? Right? Do that for automatic also. You should be doing. I converted met color. It is on your screen. Do that. Along with that, do for automatic as well. Because even automatic has got how many categories? 2? Yeah. To be frank, there is another way to deal with such categorical data that I'll show you in the end. Right now I don't want to confuse you. So are you with me? So we are going slowly now towards these filtering part. Now we identified, now we are trying to fill up these problems that we have in our data set. Okay. We identified the problems, now we are trying to find their solution. Everybody, are you done now with met color and automatic? Can you please raise your hand so that I can move forward? How many of you are done by converting? Please raise your hand properly. Okay. Now, recheck the data types, guys. How do you check the data type? Fully by using information command. Recheck your data type. See here. Now met color and automatic have now become object. So you have successfully converted two of the columns as object types. Right. So what should be our next step now? I'll not change the slide. You will be predicting. What should be the next step? Okay. And can I have some answers coming, please? What should be the next step? Fill those empty values. Okay. And what should be our next step? Can I get some answers from there? Next step. Okay. So filling missing values. Everybody says filling missing values. What happened? Are you working with me? Right. I still did not replace unique values of doors column. So first, before I begin working with those missing values, I'll have to clean all the columns that I have. So my one more column, nobody told me this. Okay. So doors column. So what do we do now? What is the problem with doors column? Number and string. So what do you think I am supposed to do now? Replace those strings with the numbers and then convert its data type as well. Okay? Will you do? Try. All of you please try. You found out unique values of the door columns. You got it as 3, 4 and 5 in strings that are supposed to be replaced by numbers. Can you please try that? Replacing those strings with numbers. Try. Solution I'll put it onto the screen. But please try once. If you do it, it will be more better. Replace. Okay, anyways. Those who can do, please do it on your own. Those who are having some difficulty, a syntax is there onto your screen. Replace method is used to replace a value with the desired value. Now at least by using this syntax you can try. Please do that. How many of you did it on your own? 1, 2. Good. So what are you trying to replace? Strings with your number. So give it with respect to that column. So those who are getting some problem, I am putting it on your screen. Have a look. What did I do there is, my data frame column name doors, I am replacing as a string 3 with number 3, and you make sure that it is in place. What happens if I don't give in place equal to true there? Yes, at that instant it might show like that, but in your information it will not be reflected because it will not change it in the place of your actual data frame. So information will not reflect these changes. Only if you are putting in place equal to true, whatever changes you are making will be reflecting on your actual data frame. Okay? So once you are replacing the string 3 with the value 3, you put in place equal to true. All of you please do this with me. And like that you have to go for 3 values, right? 3, 4, 5. If I am not wrong. Yes. 3, 4 and 5. Acha, you have to be very clear about the unique values. See, unique value was here 3. Sometimes it should be a capital T or something like that. So you have to be very careful while you are replacing what you are typing there. Okay? So check your unique value and replace accordingly. Those who have replaced, check for the information of your data frame now. Is it still showing object? Yes. So what should be your next step? Convert the type of this particular column. Int you make it. Automatically it will not do it for you because you are replacing something forcibly there, so you have to typecast it on your own. Okay? Are you done with this? Can we move to the next one? Yeah. So after you have replaced it, automatically it will not change it from object to int, guys. You have to typecast it by using as type. Please do that, everybody. Change the data type of doors column as integer and then look for the information of data frame again. Look for the information of data frame again. So doors, you can see earlier it was object, now it is made int, same 1436 values, where it was strings you clearly made that as numbers. Done? Filtered out this column as well. So which columns did we work on till now? Met color, automatic and doors. What are we still left with? On missing values, right. Now, we also worked on kilometer and HP, but we only identified what made them object. There were some missing values which were not incorporated in the data frame, which were not being read. We made it read. Now we have got some n missing values associated with kilometer and HP as well, which we need to fill it with. Okay, so we'll have to impute those, right. So first find out how many missing values are there in your data frame. So if you just put is null there, what happens, guys? Gives you Boolean values, but I want a count. So please get me a count. Get me a count of null values in your data frame. Use is null method along with sum. So how many are you encountering? How many missing values you are encountering? Have a look. I can go for two methods there, guys. I can go for either is null or I can go for is NA. Okay, anything is fine. Now you can see here price has no null values. Automatic, CC, doors, weight, so they don't need my focus now. I already changed their objects from int float to object for met color and automatic, right? Doors also I converted it from object till to int. Okay, my work is done with them. Now my problem is with age, kilometer, fuel type and met color. Okay, there are some missing values. So what are the two ways by which you can work with these missing values, guys? Either you can delete it if your application supports, if the data is not so crucial enough. If it's a small like 2-3 rows, delete it, no problem, it will not affect much. But then how many? Almost 150 missing values, that creates an impact, no? So you cannot delete those data. What you must do? Replace this with something which is efficient. So we call that technically as imputing. What it is? Imputing. So you try to impute the missing values. With what? That we will see. Okay? Now, if you want to delete, don't do this, but we are not going to delete them. If you want to delete the missing values, then you use drop now. Drop now method I already discussed, no? Use drop now and then it will delete all the values, but make sure in place should be true when you are using drop now. Then only it will affect your data frame. Okay? Now, guys, it is important, okay? If if you don't want to delete, if you don't want to drop your missing values, you want to impute them, then there are basically two ways of approach. See, this is important with respect to your interview also. They can ask you a question, on what basis will you decide how to impute missing values. So I will say here, statistics plays a major role. You have to first check on the type of distribution of your data. Okay? For an example here, in age column and kilometer column, I can't by myself tell if I can impute it with mean or if I can impute it with median. But if it is a categorical data, I can then and there decide that I can impute it with mode. What is mode? Maximum count of value. If it's a categorical data, I then and there decide it is mode by which I will replace. But if it is some data like age in kilometer, I can't decide by myself on my own if I am going to take mean and median. There I have to look, I have to take help of distribution of my data. So here statistics plays a very important role. Okay? You should be knowing how your data is distributed. Broadly, for now I am giving you a hint, broadly two types of distribution you must look into. Whether it is normal distribution or a skewed distribution. Do you understand what is normal distribution and skewed distribution, guys? How many of you understand what is normal distribution and skewed distribution? Please raise your hand. Two of you. Okay, anyways. See, normal distribution, have you ever heard? PTSP you all wrote, no? Probability exam. Now, as a hint I give you, because I can't go much in depth, the time is not sufficient enough. So try to understand, for a normal distribution, mean value and median value is almost same. It's more symmetrical in nature, means around the central tendency it is balanced, positive and negative. And both the mean and median, they are almost similar value, not exactly same, but on the same benchmark. They are almost same. Okay? Not much difference amongst them. But when I talk about skewed distribution, there is ample difference between mean and median. And moreover, it can be more towards positive or more towards negative. It is basically an asymmetrical data, which is not symmetrical towards the center part of your data. Clear with this? So if it is a normal distribution type of a data where there is not much difference between your mean and median, then you pick up mean to impute your missing values. Why mean? Why mean for normal distribution? Because mean, median both are same. There is no much dispersion from the mean for the data. So average value lies in the central part of your data only. Okay? So that's why you impute your missing values with mean when it's a normal distribution. When it is a skewed distribution, you pick up median because there's a lot of variability with respect to the means of the data. So if you choose mean, what will happen? I give you one simple example. Yes, exactly, it affects. Now, if suppose I am preparing a model for giving some home loan, whether some XYZ prediction, whether I can give a home loan to this particular person. So for that, to train the model, I should give some say 100 people's salaries to train my model. Now in that I can give any number of people. Now suppose if I put Ambani's salary into that, definitely it will affect my model by a humongous amount. A person who will be applicable also, it will show it is not applicable. So I can't include. I can't include that as an average value because if I have one big value, it affects drastically to my average value. Such values I cannot take. So when I have such uneven spread of data with me, then I will particularly take median. What is median? Central value of the data because it's more diversified in nature. So central value I'll pick up and I'll impute my missing values with it. So basically it will be very helpful, median will be very helpful while working with outliers. What are outliers and all? I'll show you. Okay. So right now, for your information, please remember, if it's a normal distribution for your column, then you impute your missing values with mean of that column. If it is a skewed distribution, then you will impute it with median. Clear everybody? Right. I will get back to this numerical and categorical imputing. I'll give you 5 minutes of break, have some water and come. I start with data visualization first. We'll visualize these columns and then we'll begin with imputing our missing values. Okay, 5 minutes, but be back in 5 minutes. Okay, with the prediction, with your accuracy of your model. Okay guys, so you must be very, very careful what you are training to your model. And that's how statistics plays a major role. Okay, so you should now be in a position to describe why statistics and mathematics are important and integral part of data science. Will you now be in a position to answer if somebody asks you why you should study statistics and maths if you're going for data scientist? Yeah, right. Now, so as I told you, if you are going for normal distribution, you choose mean. If you're going for skewed distribution, look at the distribution of your column with what you are going to impute, you go for median. Okay, but if it is a categorical data, go for mode. Okay, right. Now, common approaches to analyze data sets. See guys, I am here little bit taking a U-turn and I'll be coming back to imputing values, because I find when I talk about statistics, you should know the basics since you are preparing for an interview. Had it been just working on data set, I would have directly worked on to imputing a missing value and my role is done. Since I am preparing you for a company, you should be knowing a few terminologies about statistics. So I am just taking a bit U-turn and I will get back to imputing the values. Understand these terminologies very clearly. They might ask you this in your jobs. Okay, what is this? Why it affects like that? Okay, so anyways, now why are we studying mean, median, standard deviation, variance? Okay, all these statistical terms. Why? That one question you must know. So when you analyze the data set, there are basically two ways to analyze a data set, two common approaches. One is go towards the central tendency of your data set. Another is variability. So you understand where it will affect. If I go for central tendency, then it is the most popular value in the data, in the middle of the data. So what things will come over here when I talk about central tendency, guys? You will have mean, median and mode. Because I am talking about middle part or average part of your data, central part of your data. Average part of data is mean, central part of your data is median, common or the popular part of your data is going to be your mode. So most frequent observation also we call it sometimes. So central tendency is one of the approach to analyze any data set given to you. Another approach is how far, yes, standard deviation, how spread out is your data. Because sometimes it so happens you cannot figure out the central tendency of your data, it will be much scattered in nature, very random in nature. Data set, anything can be given to you, no, not necessary, it should be an ordered data set. Okay, so if it is something where you can figure out some average value and all, go for the central tendency approach. If it is more of a random data set or a scattered data set, then you will have to see how far are your values away from mean or median, from the central part of your data set. For that, what you will find out is how spread out is your data. What will you find out over there, guys? Yes, variance and standard deviation you already know from statistics. Two more things, new things that you will be working on today is range, specifically interquartile ranges, and what is quartile. Okay, so there are four things that you will learn when you will try to analyze your data with respect to variability, range, variance, quartile and standard deviation. So I thought you all must know this, so I have incorporated this. So I am just little bit deviating from imputing, I will get back to imputing. Okay, so these are the two approaches, guys. Now, although the mean and median each locate in some sense, okay, the center of the data, but the mean is sensitive to the magnitude of the data, whereas median is sensitive only to the location of your data. I hope that makes sense. Mean is going to be affected by the value of your data set, not the position, whereas median will be affected by the position of the data set, right? Now, mean versus median, guys. What is difference between mean and median? So, if the data are nominal scale, that is label or the string, we should not be using either mean or neither mean nor median. You should not be using. Directly you should go for, if it is a categorical data, go for mode. Okay. Now, if it is in ordinal scale, that means values are in order. When you know what comes after another, it is supposed to be in an order, then you will select median, because there median plays an important role, because location wise median is going to give you the answer, value wise mean is going to give you the answer. So you have to be a little bit tricky over there, where you should study median of a particular column, where you should study mean of a particular column. Okay, clear with it, right? Now, if it is generally an interval or a ratio, that is int or a float value, then you can, any one of them you can generally accept it. Okay, clear? Now, but again, thumbs rule is what I already gave you. Look for the distribution of your column before you impute. If it is normal distribution, please stick to mean. If it is skewed distribution, please stick to median. That thing you keep in your mind for dealing any data set. Alright. Now, how do you understand, how do you find out what should be the mean of a column? How do I understand whether this particular column is normal distributed or skewed distributed? So for that, guys, please use describe function. You can use that to your data set now. Your data set name dot describe method will give you various things, statistical description about your data set, guys. So if you see here, what you got in your data set, you got count, okay, and then you have got mean of that count, standard deviation, minimum value. Now what are all these 25%, 50%, 75%? Percentiles, okay, they are all percentile. 0th percentile is the first row of your data set. Okay, 25%, 0 to 25% we call it first quartile. 25% is 25th percentile. Okay, 0 to 25 we call it as first quartile, because less than that is the first quarter of your data set. First quartile. From 25 till 50, it is second quartile. 50 to 75, third quartile. 75 till 100, fourth quartile. So an entire data set is divided into 4 quartiles: Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4. And percentiles, whatever, you can even find out 40th percentile as well. Not a problem. But here it gives you 3 quartiles. 4 quartiles not needed, 0% is not needed, no. First row itself is 0%. So you have first quartile, second quartile and third quartile given here. Now guys, check here. You wanted to impute age, you know? Yeah. So check for the mean of your age, guys. 55.6. Now tell me, guys, when I have these 4 quartiles, Q1 0%, Q2 till 25%, Q3 50%, Q1 from 0 to 25, Q2 is 25 till 50, the 50% is Q2, and then 50 to 75 is Q3, 75 to 100 is Q4. Which one is median? 50%. 50% is your median, because median is always the center location of your data set. So here what is the median in describe? 50 it is. Okay, it's not clearly visible, it is 50. Okay, so check for 50% of your age. What it is? What this is? 55.6, 56, and this is 60. Hardly not much difference. So what type of it is distribution? So what you will impute age with? Mean. Now check for kilometer, guys. What is this? 647. What is this? 63,000. So 68 and 63, almost 5,000 difference. So what type of distribution? Skewed. So now you understand you have to use which value for imputing kilometer? Median. Clear everybody? So using describe, when you go for these statistics, when you understand statistics, you will try to understand what you must impute your missing values to get the best out of your model. Understood? That's why we are learning statistics as well. Fine? So this was one issue, thing. Now second, anyways. Now let's talk about dispersion in general. I am not talking about with respect to this data set. I am giving you this information in general. What is dispersion? Till now we saw central tendency. Okay. Dispersion is a measure of the amount of the spread or variation or the distribution of the values in your data set. Right? So I told you different measures for dispersion are range, variance, standard deviation. One more I told. Quartiles. Okay. Fine. What is range? Actually, now tell me first thing, why am I teaching you this? I taught you mean, median, that should be enough, no? Yes, yes. You were telling something? To understand how is your data. See, suppose I want to build a model on home loan, the same example. Okay? For that, I take a survey of say 1,000 people. In that, name, salary, everything I'll give, no? Same thing I'm going to collect and I'll use it to train my model. So salary of one, see suppose if it is a home loan of say around 5 lakh rupees, then I would say a basic salary of about 25 to 30,000 is enough for my model to fit into. But when I am taking a survey, I can get somebody with 50 lakh per annum salary as well. Is that person applicable for my model? No. It's far beyond my range. Look what I am talking. It's far beyond my range. So what do you call it as? Outlier. Technically, you call such data as outlier. Now, if I include that outlier while building my model, again it will affect my predictions a lot. So, you will have to either delete that outlier or similar way how you are dealing with missing value. You will have to impute that outlier. Missing value was fine. Just fill it with average value or median value. But for outlier you can't because it is something beyond. So look for the variability in your data and impute outlier accordingly. Clear? So you will look for central tendency or mean and median to impute your missing values. You will look for variation or spread of your data to work with outliers, guys. That's why it's important you learn statistics. Not only central tendency approach, but variability approach is also important when you are analyzing a data set. So variability will help you to deal with outliers. How do we do that? I'll teach you. Fine? Clear? So that's the reason here I am giving a very brief introduction. Because of time constraint, I may not be in position to explain you more elaborately, but I'll try my best to give you a brief overview of so that you are in a position to answer. Okay? So, 3 different measures, range, variance and standard deviation. They are helpful for you to understand dispersion of your data. Now, range. In range, if it's a normal range, you can understand. What is a range? Lowest value, difference between the lowest value and the highest value is their range. But here in a data set, you must be more, you are going a step ahead and calculating interquartile range. Now interquartile range is what? It is a measure of variability again based upon the data set when it is divided into specific quartiles. So as I told you, quartile 1 is from 0 to 25, second quartile is 25 to 50, 50% is your median guys. Okay, try to understand this. 0 to 100 is your data, 50th percentile is your median. But how are you dividing the other part? From 0 to 50%, Q1 should be your median of the first half. From 50 to 100%, Q3 should be the median of your second half. Clear? That's how you must divide your data to understand variance of your data. Okay? So basically for entire data set, Q2 is the median, Q2 is the median. For the first half, Q1 is the median. For the later half, Q3. So now, what is this interquartile range? Between these two other median values. That is the difference between Q1 and Q3 is your interquartile range. So technically, if somebody asks you to define interquartile range, it is the difference between 25% to 75% of your data, if I am talking about percentile. If I am talking about quartiles, then it is Q3 minus Q1, third quartile minus first quartile. So I can define IQR in terms of percentiles or quartiles. 0 to 25% is first quartile. Clear with this everybody? So difference between 25% to 75% of your data is IQR in terms of percentiles. In terms of quartile, it is difference between first and the third quartile. Clear everyone? So that gives you a good reading on the variance of your data. Fine? This is about IQR proper definition. Next. Anyways. So you can see here, quartile mein it calculates difference between 25th quartile and 75th quartile. 25th quartile there is Q1 and 75th quartile there is Q3. Okay? Now, next is variance. You might have heard a lot about this mean, variance while you are dealing with your high school. Okay? Many times you have seen mean is denoted by which symbol? Mean. Mu. Variance? Sigma. Right. Now, some textbooks or sometimes you might have seen mean represented by X bar. Yeah? When you have done your probability paper. Sometimes you write it as mu, sometimes you write it as X bar. Can anybody give me an answer? Why? Sample and population. Very good. So when you are treating with an entire data set together, that's a whole population we call it and we term it as mu. If you are taking a part of data set and working, it's a sample. So you call it as X bar. That's how the difference. Formula and all they are the same. Fine? So you try to find out variance by determining how close the scores in distribution are to the middle of the distribution. That's what is variance doing. How the values are different from its mean value. Okay? Right. So this is your formula. I need not go on to that depth for this. Just for your information I kept it. If you have any doubt, pause this session, you can come and talk to me on this. Okay? Next. Standard deviation. What is this? Square root of variance. Okay? It helps you to find out outliers. Okay? It is a useful measure of variability when the distribution is a normal distribution. When you have a normally distributed data, measure of variability is good if you go for standard deviation. That is nothing but variance, square root of variance, right. Now, what is covariance? How two variables are different from their mean. So, relation between two entities if you are trying to find out, not exactly relation I can say, because there is something other thing that is going to do for you, that is correlation. So, covariance tells you how two entities are differing from their mean value. Okay, that is covariance. So, you are supposed to find out if the variables are positively related or negatively related, based upon if it is a positive covariance or a negative covariance. Now, important part is, if the covariance is positive, means what? If x is increasing, y will also increase. If it is negative, then if say x is large, y is going to be small. So, it is like proportionality between two features you can find out if you are trying to find out covariance between them. That is also one part of statistics that can help you while you are analyzing your data set. Okay? One simple example I kept which is different from the data set that you are giving there. So, there is a data frame with some values of dogs and cats as the column, and you try to find out the covariance between them. So, you can see what is the covariance between the dog and the cat. There is a negative covariance between the dog and the cat. You can see that is -1 over there. Means an entity which is a cat will not be a dog. Understanding? So, because it is cat and dog, you can easily say, but for the various other features that are present, you try to find out if x is large, y is going to be small. That means the other one is going to be small. If it is a positive covariance, then if x is large, y will also be large. To understand in that way, to all the various columns of your data set, we use covariance. Fine? Now, coming to the other part before I go with imputing values, I should visualize the data. Visualizing of data is very, very important, because if it's say 1436, you are able to know, but till what is the maximum range that it is going? Which one is the highest one? Which one is the lowest one? I don't know that, and I manually cannot sort it. So, I should go for visualization of the data to get a better prospect. Okay, how the data is. I am giving a brief introduction to what are all different plots that you can go for, but for our goal for today, to detect and impute outliers, we will specifically use box plots. Okay? Now see here, very simply what I am going to do here, I am going to download a package called matplotlib. See, there is a Seaborn package as well. There is a matplotlib package as well. So, I am showing you both. Right now, I am showing you matplotlib. While I do boxplot, I will show you SNS. Okay, Seaborn. So, here you see I imported matplot.pyplot as PLT by global convention. I am just plotting my column of price. You all can do that with me, please. Please plot price column of your data set and visualize how it is. So, when I go for this plot, it continuously plots my values. If I want some discreteness to that, you understand continuous and discrete, right? Then I should go for, I just used an asterisk. You can go for dot also. I used green asterisks for that. You can give any color that you want. Onto the right side of your screen that you can see. Both are the same data. Look at the different visualization that it is giving with the help of the plot. Here it is a continuous plot. There it is a discrete plot. And I am using symbol for every point as a green asterisk there. G star. Can you do that? Are you doing this with me, guys? Please do that. Visualize the data set. Here I have taken price column. You can take any column of your choice and visualize. So this is one type of thing. This is a normal plot. Okay, this is a normal plot of a data. I just have to import matplotlib and I have to plt is the package from where I am using plot as a function and I am showing that plot. That's it. So you all did that? How many of you did that? Please raise your hands. So almost everybody. Good. Next is, for your information, I am not going that much in detail. If I share the material, you can go through that. These are the various formatting attributes for the graph. Different colors, different markers and different types of lines that you can go for. Okay? Visualization, as of now I am not going much in depth, but this is for your information. It will be passed on to you. You can work on it in your free time. Okay? Right. Now, different types of plots, guys. What is this? Bar graph. What is this? Both look same. What is the difference? Yes. For histogram, frequency of only one variable. And what about bar graph? You have to give two variables. One variable with respect to the other. Pie chart you all are familiar with. Now scatter plot and area plot. They are these two different. Area plot will tell you about the spread of your data set. Scatter plot will tell you if you can find out any relationship between two columns of your data set. When you plot a scatter plot, are there any similarity between them, any relation between them? We'll see all of them. So look here, for our data set, I plotted a histogram for price column with the color green and the edge colors I am giving white. Can you all do that with me, with any other color? Plot, I plotted here, and onto the right side, I plotted a bar graph, guys. So for bar graph, I should give X and Y. So here I am giving age and kilometer, and I put the color as purple. Here you can see I can even give X-axis label, Y-axis label and title of the graph. Why do you need all these things? To make your data more presentable. You know, statistics by numbers, it is very boring. And our human brain works more with graphical visualizations. So if you just show numbers as a report to your client, then you know, it is just like, okay, something like that. But if you put it more graphically, then it looks more and more attractive and chances of them understanding are more better. So for that reason, you have to learn data visualization as well. Also, when you're working with a huge data set, manually understanding the peak points, manually understanding which column is having more values, it is very difficult. So if you visualize it, you can get a certain range till where it is going. So you can see here, by this histogram, I understood what should be the price of my car. By this bar graph, I understood that the age versus kilometer. So the maximum number of kilometers that is coming is around say 24,000 and the age for it is say 42 years. Yes? So such answers I can get if I plot or visualize my data. Manually doing will be a little cumbersome. Right? So that's why I try to visualize the data and get more interaction with it. So all of you are able to plot the graphs. How many of you did this? Please raise your hand. Not more? Okay. Please finish this fast. Shall I move to the other one, guys? Yeah. Similarly, you can even plot for scatter. But please, one caution, if it is a very big data set, scatter plot will not yield you any information. Like what I have done. Although I have plotted it for you, but I am not able to get much information. But yes, I can see the distribution where it is going. If it is a positive distribution or a negative distribution. That I can show. That I can see using. Yes, I can do that. But then as of now, distribution part of you, scatter plot is okay. But with this linear regression and all, if you are plotting, trying to fit that model and seeing, then it will be helpful. Just simply scatter plot, just for distribution it will be helpful. Okay. Right. Coming now back. I took that U-turn now and I am back onto the track. So what am I trying now? You are okay with visualization, guys? You are okay with statistics part? Now coming back, where did we leave the road on? Where did we leave this road on? Filling the missing values. Imputing. Okay? I am not deleting. I am imputing. There are two approaches I told. What are they? Either delete it or impute it. Because there are number of missing values more, I can't delete them, it will affect my model. So I am trying to impute them. Right. Now, as I told you, look for the distribution of the data. So here what do you observe? How do you look for the statistical description of your data? By using describe method. So see here, mean and median. Median is 50%. Not much difference. So impute age with mean, impute kilometers with median, impute horsepowers with what? Median. Okay? So that's what you are going to do. Now, we are now going to impute our missing values for age, guys. So first you find out mean value for your age. Right? See, already in the describe it will be there. But individually also you can find out, not an issue. Either look for it in the describe thing or individually for that column you can find out mean, it is up to you. After you have done that, you will use a method called fill NA. Okay? For deleting missing values, drop NA. For filling the missing values, fill NA. Now, this is the syntax. So what you can see, what am I doing now? For my data frame of age as a column, I am filling that column with its mean. Make sure in place is true. If in place is not given, then it will not affect the overall data frame. It will not reflect it in the information. So all of you please impute age with its missing value with the mean value of age. Check for the information now. Checked it? Good. No null values, right? No null values. Check for the information if you have imputed. So you can see here very clearly, before you imputed, you can print the missing values and you can see over there. All the missing values have been, you remember yesterday when I told you to check the tail, you were able to see some missing values. Now if you again go for the tail part and check, you can see that those missing values, you can see here, 1431 was having a missing value of NAN in age. When you saw the tail of your data frame yesterday, if you remember, that has now been replaced with the mean. You can see 1427, 1431, 1433 position, all of them were missing values. Now they have been imputed with their mean value. So there are no null values now. Clear everybody? Right. Now, please impute kilometers. All of you, please impute kilometer. With what you will impute now? Median. Why? Because there is a humongous difference between mean and the median value. It's a skewed distribution. It's a skewed distribution. So please go for it. Make sure while you are filling the null values using fill NA, in place should be true. Do it on your own, don't look at the screens. And check for the information. Done? Done? Check for the information. Now next column. What you will do now, HP, check for the describe method of your database. Check for the HP column. Is there a big difference between mean and median? Not much. What are the values? Can you say? 101 and 110. Not much difference. So what you will impute with? Mean. For HP, impute your missing values with mean. Why did I choose mean, guys? Because there was not much difference between mean and median value in the describe method when I applied for it. It means that it's a normal distribution. If it's a normal distribution, you have to replace your missing values with your mean value. For kilometer, it was almost 5,000 difference between mean and median. So definitely I had to take median there. Guys, fuel type column. You have missing values in fuel type also, no? So impute it. What you will impute? Mode. How will you find out mode? Use value count method. Okay? Use value count method which will return a series containing counts of unique values in descending order. Have a look everybody onto the screen. Value count will return the series containing counts value in descending order. So which value will you take out of value count? The first one, index 0. Okay? So select it and replace it. So that's what I'm going to do here. I first took fuel type column. I calculated value counts. So I got petrol with 1277, diesel with 144, CNG with 15. Right? So what I'm going to do now? I am going to replace or I am going to impute my missing values in fuel type with value count method and index as 0. Index as 0 means what? With petrol, the highest one. And make sure in place is true. Are you all getting it? Slowly each and every column we are filtering it out. One more thing, a big issue is left with us now. We imputed the columns, it's okay. But before we give it to the model, it is still not processed yet. What didn't we focus on? All are? Categorical data we didn't focus on, and being if you're working on data science is something which you must be afraid of. Outliers. You still did not check for your data if it has outliers or not. That is where we are left with. If we work on that, our data is fully processed. Okay, so we are almost approaching towards the end. Are you done with this? Yeah? Right. Okay. Now, see here. Fuel type, okay, all of you guys. Fuel type, I replaced it by using a method called value count. I can also go for mode. So, I will show you one with mode. So, here I am imputing met color missing values with mode. So, if I am using mode again, I should go for index as 0, guys. Value count, mode. Anybody, everybody, are you clear? Index of 0, because mode also gives me the data the first one will be representing the having highest number of times it has been encountered. So the first value I am going to take it. So index of 0. Please replace the, I can't tell, replace. Please impute the missing values of met color column with its mode, because it is again categorical in nature. So did we complete all the columns now by far, or anything is left? Age we did, kilometer was having problem, HP was having problem, we did that, met color, and fuel type. We all worked, like, I think almost we have covered. Did we do that? Yeah. How do I know? Please check again the null values. So see here, before imputing null values, there were 1, 2, 3 and 4 columns which were having our attention. So you can see now after imputing null values, there are no null values. So you have successfully imputed all the null values of your data. Now what is next? What is next, guys? I'll teach you one more method. Don't do this one because we don't have any missing values right now. So there's one more approach to filling the missing values, that is by using lambda function. What we have done is individually each and every column. At a stretch in numerical and categorical data, you can impute the null values using lambda function, guys. So you can see here, if I use the data frame, I'll apply lambda function and I give two conditions there, guys. What is the condition? If my data type is float, I will fill the null values with mean of that column. If it is categorical, then I'll fill it with value count dot index. So in one stretch I can fill my column if I know. First I should know it is a normal distribution. Okay? Then I can use lambda function and I can fill any numerical data with mean and I can fill any categorical data with mode or value count index 0. So this is an alternate approach of doing. I am showing you both the approaches. I went through a more foundational approach. Okay? At a higher level, at a stretch you can do that. Now to understand outliers, we should know statistics, variance and probabilities. Understood? Why you will be learning probability as well? Probability and statistics and mathematics. These are foundations of your data science. Okay? So now for numerical variables exploratory data analysis, you will have to understand what is frequency table, two-way table, two-way joint probability, marginal probability, conditional probability, correlation. This will help you to find out how the columns are dependent or independent of each other. Are there any similarity amongst them? Basically for marketing your model it will be helpful. Like if I am a marketing manager, I can say that what is the probability that I can sell a car which should be of petrol model and it should be automatic in nature. Understood? So those questions will be answered when you will apply probability here onto your data set. Understood? Like, will this model run in the public? Okay, basically when you go for marketing and advertisements, these will be very, very useful to you. You will be working on probability. What is the probability that if you advertise so and so pop-up onto this person's Insta, that he'll go to that website and purchase it? So for that you will have to find out some similarities, dependencies amongst various features. For that this will be useful. Okay? Pandas crosstab method helps you to do that. Okay? Now crosstab method alone is sufficient for understanding all these things. All of you please pay attention. So crosstab function helps you to compute simple cross tabulation. It has got various parameters, guys, and based on how you are passing the parameters, the result will change. So if you are simply giving a crosstab function, it gives you a frequency table. If you are giving index over there in your parameter, then it will give you what? That we will see. If you give margins, it will give you marginal probability. If you give index, then it will give you joint probability. If you give normalization as true, it will give you conditional probability, like that. You know, we'll see all of these things. So one single method is going to help you deal with all the possible probabilities that you can reflect on. Okay? So crosstab is a very important method that you use in pandas. Look at the frequency table part. If I really want to find out the frequency table of fuel type in my data set, then I will use crosstab function, pd.crosstab, and I have to pass on fuel type, and I will say columns as count and dropna equal to true. Why I am doing there dropna as true? Because earlier, before imputing my missing values, if I am doing this, then 1436 were original data and there were some missing values. So if there are any missing values, then dropna will drop those missing values and give you only the frequency distribution of existing actual data. Okay? So here frequency table. So what is this frequency table? See here, there are three categories in fuel type. What is the frequency or the count of it? So look at the output. If I want to know how many of them are CNG, how many of them are diesel, how many of them are petrol. So in my data set of my second-hand cars, which one is most prevalent model? Petrol. So that answers me. Frequency table answers me that. Understanding? So how do I view a frequency table? Using the crosstab method. That's one way. Now, second guys, if I want to know a two-way table, then what am I doing here? I am using the same crosstab function. I am giving index as automatic and I am using column as fuel type. So that gives me what? Which of the following has got a manual gearbox and what is the model? Okay, how many cars have got diesel as a model and a manual gearbox in your data set? If I ask you that question, then quickly you will plot a crosstab. As your row you will give automatic column, as your column you will give fuel type, and tell me that diesel with manual model we have got 144 values. Clear everybody? So to analyze your data, you will be using crosstab function guys. Okay, to answer such questions. So if I want to answer that, if I bring an automatic type of a model, can I sell a CNG model for that? Can I sell a CNG model with an automatic gearbox guys? Why? Check, 0. So I do not have enough data with me. So I can say that this model is not going to work for me. Understood? Why we are going for crosstab function? Right? So the cars with automatic gearbox as of now in my data do not have fuel type as CNG and diesel. So it is giving me an overview about the data. I am trying to find insights about my data. Next. Guys, for the next one, joint probability. You all know what is joint probability, what it is? Don't read that and tell me. Huh? Joint probability is that if two events can happen at the same time. So with respect to data set, you can ask me any question. What is it? What is the probability that the car can be a diesel type with an automatic gearbox? What is the probability? What is the probability that the car can be automatic and a petrol model? Understood? So why are we going for joint probabilities? Why are we studying joint probabilities? Why are we studying probabilities? Clear? So what's the probability that I can have a model with CNG which has run for so and so kilometers? Okay, so it's like that. So that's the reason why are we learning probabilities. Okay, so here you can see that's the syntax for joint probability. Can you tell me what is the difference in the previous syntax and this syntax guys? Same crosstab function I used. I normalized it with true. What is normalization? Yes, putting it to a specified range. So when I am talking probability, it should be 0 to 1. So when you normalize that, it does that. Okay. So with it, what has come into picture? What inference have you got? What was my question? Can I have an automatic vehicle? What is the probability with a petrol model? Tell, you have answer on the screen. Very low probability, ma'am. Yeah. But then you can go for petrol model with a manual gearbox. We have many with us. Understood? Why? Because the probability of a petrol model with a manual gearbox is giving you what? 0.82. Very close to 1. Understood? High probability of getting that model. So this is useful to get proper insight into your data set, guys. Okay? Joint probability, from here I infer joint probability of a car having manual gearbox and fuel type CNG is almost 0. I do not have any car with that thing. Okay? Helping me to analyze my data with respect to various features now. Till now we were not working with features enough. We were individually focusing on them. Now we are trying to grouping them and trying to see what effect one is giving on other. Understood? Yeah. You are doing with me? Yeah. Next, I discussed this. Next, marginal probability. What is marginal probability? Whether a single event can occur or not. Okay? So here index plays a very important role. Okay? So here margins should be made as true in your crosstab. Okay? So you can see here, because I am taking probability into picture, I have to normalize it. But I should make sure that margin is true. If margin is not given, if margin is false, it takes it as joint probability, guys. Okay? If margin is off, if it is false, and you're just normalizing it, it gives you a joint probability. But if you make margin as true, now you will get a marginal probability. Joint probability may you will see if two events can occur together. But in marginal, you are only bothered on one event. Okay? Next. Have a look. What do you infer out of it? What do you infer out of this extract of data? Can you infer something out of it? Petrol model is the most popular model there, because marginal probability of petrol is almost 0.9. Understood? So that is the inference that I got when I saw the marginal probability. And I am just dealing with fuel type, guys. You can go for any column and just check out. Right. Next. Then conditional probability. Conditional probability is probability of an event A given event B has already occurred. Definition wise, I don't think I need to elaborate much. Right? Now, look here. Given the type of gearbox, what is the probability of the different fuel types? So, event has already occurred. I already selected my gearbox. And I am only asking about what are the various fuel types that can be. What is the probability for them? So what is now different in syntax? Normalize is index. Why? Because I fixed my rows for that. Okay. Normalize is now index. It is not just true. It is normalized with respect to some event that has already appeared. Okay. Now, what do you infer? What do you infer? Same thing. When the gearbox is manual, the probability of having a car model as petrol is again very high. So I saw with respect to joint probability, I saw with respect to marginal probability, I saw with respect to conditional probability. So as a salesman, if I am a salesman, what I should be focusing more on? Petrol model of my car. Understood? this slide which just verifies the formula, guys. Okay. Anyways, I'm just giving you a brief on this. You already know conditional probability formula, right? P of A by B, A given B, P of A intersection B and P of B. So because of lag of time now, I'm not going much in detail into these mathematical calculations. All you have to do is directly use crosstab method, calculate marginal and joint probabilities. Okay, I'm just skipping this because of lag of time, but that doesn't mean that I've not covered it for you. Use crosstab function and do it. This is just for my manual verification. That's it. Anyways, this is conditional probability. I already covered this for you. Now talking about correlation. Yeah. What does correlation help in? Correlation gives you strength of association between two variables. Yeah, all of you. Correlation is an important topic. Please understand it. Correlation gives you strength of association between two variables, not only in the numerical variables all the time. Okay? Visualization of the scatter plot, you can see this is a positive trend. When you will use data visualization here. This is a positive trend. That's a negative trend. I plotted a scatter plot for price. No, what trend was it? We did no? We did a scatter plot. It is a negative trend. Okay. Now then, what about this? The third case over here onto your screen. Hardly I can find out any trend. So there is utter confusion left there. There is little or no correlation. So here you can find out if it is a positive correlation or a negative correlation, but then here it is a bit difficult. So the value of your correlation is always between -1 and +1. That is how positively they are correlated and how negatively they are correlated. Now, to compute pairwise correlation, first exclude all the null values and exclude the categorical variables if you really want to find out the correlation. After that, you can find out correlation of your data frame using .cor method. Cor method. So what do you see? Why these values are 1 here, guys? Because they are highly correlated, no? Age and age, kilometer and kilometer. One shows perfect correlation. So we should avoid that. Now remaining things, can you find out where you can work on correlation here? See here, price and age, very negatively correlated. Means the more the age, the lesser will be the price. Understood? Next, any positive correlation that you can find? An average correlation. Age in kilometer, 0.51. And so, one more method of understanding this correlation more better is, I'll tell you, using heat map. For that we require Seaborn package, guys. Using heat map, it shows you various colors. The darker the color, the better the correlation. So you can just figure that out by using heat map. If you want, you can please plot it. Import Seaborn as SNS first. Seaborn is again a package we use for data visualization. Okay. Import Seaborn as SNS. Create a matrix of correlation from your data frame using COR method. And use heat map from SNS package. Give your correlation matrix and annotation as true. It's an annotated data, no? So annotation is true. So the data is annotated and it shows you. So you can see here the darker colors, age, and you can see here, what is this? Age and price, age and kilometer, and then here there is one more dark color, age and weight. Okay, so with the darker the color, it shows you the higher amount or the magnitude of correlation, whether positive or negative. Okay, heat map helps you to just catch the color and work with the correlation instead of just, viewing the values. That's the only thing. How strong is the correlation? Depicting the color. Okay? So this is one way where you can find out the relation amongst various features of your data set. Now, guys, we are almost on to the end of session. Please look into this very carefully. I told you I'll come back to categorical data later also. So this is something professional people do. They don't leave your categorical data as it is. Okay, as an object or whatever. Sometime you will have to encode your categorical data as well, because machine cannot understand your category labels. Okay, like fuel type, it was petrol, okay, it was diesel, it was CNG. Computer cannot understand that. So you have to encode your category as well. So for that we have to now deal with categorical data first, then we will go for outliers. That will finish our pre-processing and EDA. Okay, so now categorical data is often also called as nominal data as well. Okay, now there are two types of encoding techniques that you can incorporate into categorical data. One is label encoding, another is one-hot encoding. Label encoding means like petrol, CNG and diesel. It can give petrol as label 0, CNG as 1 and 2, like that, depending on so many categories that you have. Or you can go for binary encoding for that, like 001, 010, but not 011. No double ones can come. More than one cannot come. So 100. 3 categories, no? So 001, 010, 100. Only once a 1 can encounter. That is called one-hot encoding. So it's up to you, whatever encoding that you want. So I'll show you both of them. Okay? So you can see here, label encoding, guys. Label encoding is simply converting each value into a column number. So you can see, fuel type, first you convert that into category. What am I doing, guys? Fuel type earlier, if you remember, was int type. I changed it to object, because directly I cannot change it to category. So now I am changing it into category because I want to label it. If you don't want to encode your categories, you leave it then and there as an object, doesn't matter. But since the machine cannot understand the labels which are there for you, it is better you encode your labels of category as well. So first you convert your fuel type that I am working on right now as a category data. Data type should be category. Then you can convert it into a label encoded data by using an accessor called cat codes, cat.codes. Automatically all the categories will be taken up. Here we have 3 categories. So it will be labeling them as what? 2, 1 and 0 in the order of decreasing order. Okay. So you can see what is 2 now, guys. For your understanding, I created one more data frame and I am calling it as fuel type underscore cat. So when I printed that, I got it as 2 as 968, 1 as 116, 0 as 12. If I print my actual data frame, it is petrol, diesel and CNG. So you can see after you have used cat.codes accessor, what is happening? Petrol is labeled as 0, petrol is labeled as 2, diesel is labeled as 1 and CNG is labeled as 0. Clear with this? This is what? Label encoding, guys. What is the other type of encoding? One-hot encoding. So one-hot encoding, if you view, you will, for the one-hot encoding, you will have to use a method called getDummies. This is a different concept. All of you please have a look. Pandas supports the feature of one-hot encoding using getDummies. Get dummies method, how are we going to use? Just have a look. So what did I do? It's a very small thing. I think, are you able to view it? Okay, we will share this with you. Okay, so I am reading it if you can get it. I am creating a new data frame from my S Toyota data frame using get dummies, guys. pd.getDummies from my original data frame. And now I am calling for this shape. What these get dummies will do is, look at the columns now. Earlier, how many columns were there in my S Toyota data frame? 10 columns. Can you count how many columns are there after I called it as get dummies? 13. So what it is now? Automatic underscore 0. Automatic underscore 1. You see the fuel type underscore CNG, fuel type underscore diesel, fuel type underscore petrol. So if it is fuel type underscore petrol, it will be 1, remaining columns will be zeros. If it is automatic, it will be 1, and automatic with manual will be, say, 0. Understood? So it has appended a few more columns to me based on the category, and when it is present, only that column will be 1, otherwise others will be 0. So definitely it will be like one hot encoding or not. Only the required criteria is 1, remaining all criteria in that category are 0. So it's a one hot encoding. So that is done by using get dummies method. You'll have to reframe your data frame with get dummies. Then you will have more elaborate columns with respect to categories also. There will be no 0 and 1 reflected in your data frame. Columns are expanded with the categories. Clear everybody? Get dummies is clear. One hot encoding is clear. If you have any doubt, please let me know, because one hot encoding is what you use most of the time when you are doing your projects. Are you clear? Yeah. Now see here. Data types. When you see the data types, what is happening to the column? It is to unsigned integer it has got, either 0 or 1. Now, there is another approach, alternate approach, which many of you will be using practically when you will go for your companies. There is there's a package called scikit-learn, if you have heard of it. Automatically it will encode your data frame. No need of doing anything manual like what I have taught, using get dummies and all. Okay, this is an alternate approach. To do a label encoding, you must instantiate a label encoder from that package. So look at this. This is the second method. Pre-processing package from scikit-learn. You have to import label encoder, and I am calling it as LBE, and I have to fit my data frame onto that particular encoder. Okay? So what I am doing, label encoder dot fit transform my column. Once I do that, automatically you can see I have got my unique values of my column as 1, 2 and 0. So this is an alternate approach. Instead of doing it manually, you can use sklearn as well, label encoder. Similarly, if you want to go for, okay, one more approach, same label encoder. What is the difference, can you tell me, from the previous approach and this approach? If anybody can identify. Same sklearn only I am using. Yeah. So there earlier I was using sklearn dot pre-processing. From there directly I called it, but here I am using here pre-processing dot label encoder. Anything is okay. Okay, you can either go for this approach. See here, what did I do here? From sklearn pre-processing I am directly using label encoder. Here I am calling again from pre-processing. Both are one and the same. You can go for any approach using sklearn. Anything is fine. Now, the last one, outlier detection and treatment. We have worked now with our categorical data also. We'll now work with outlier. The first thing, try to understand what is an outlier. Outlier is an extreme value. What happens if you include an outlier in your data set without correction? It affects your mean value a lot. First thing is that. If it is affecting your mean value, then it is affecting a lot more other things. Right? Yes or no? So it's an extreme value. It will affect your mean, standard deviation and the scale of your histogram much. Now, distribution of your data will also be affected a lot when you have your outlier. Now, how do you find outliers, guys? Just have a look. You first sort the values. Suppose if I am working on the price column, sort the values and see. I am actually beginning with 4,000 and where did I reach? 31,000. So how do I find the outliers now? We will have to use a box plot for this. What does a box plot do? Box plot will make use of quartile ranges, IQR, and will help you to know which one is outlier or not. If there are outliers, which one is it won't? If there are outliers in a particular column, you can detect by plotting its box plot. For that, you use Seaborn package, okay, and then you box plot your column. You can go for it if you want to see. Okay, so here you can see here. Are there any outliers here? Which one? This, the most right one. Maximum of them are falling almost in the range. This is your middle part of your data. Okay, towards the end there are few, but the extreme is these two. Am I correct? This is the extreme. If I include this, it is going to affect my model a lot. So that's how my outlier is detected now. Now, how do I work with the outlier? You can also use histogram to detect the outliers also. So this is what I was talking with. Okay, so you can see dist plot if I use, I get a histogram along with its movement. Okay, along with a continuous plot. So you can see this is your outlier, the biggest one. Right? Now, once you know there are outliers, what will you do? Remove them or impute them. Again, that is your choice. Okay, so now this is an additional slide I kept to understand box plot also. You can see box plot tells you minimum value, maximum value. There will be a bar. That bar is going to give you median, 50%. Okay, then you have first quartile, third quartile. Difference between first and third quartile is interquartile range. So that box is nothing but your interquartile range. There are two whiskers to it. That's why it is sometimes also called as whisker plot. So whiskers will give you about maximum value and minimum value. Beyond that maximum value, anything that is coming is your outlier. So outlier detection, you will use box plot. Right? Now, see here, what is the impact of outlier? There is one simple data set that I have taken. What is outlier in this? 300. So see, what is the standard deviation of this particular data set? 1. What is the with this outlier? 85. So that is the impact that an outlier does on a data set. So it's better to detect it and work on it rather than keep it in your model. Okay? So the average value is also going to change. See the average value, how it is affecting? So if you impute with this average value, are you imputing correct values, guys, for those missing values? So you have to first remove the outliers, then consider about those mean values. Clear with this? Fine. Now, there are 3 methods by which you can impute your outliers. To that you have to find out the value by which you must impute. Okay, either you can discard that outlier, either you detect that outlier, either discard it or impute it. So for detection also you have got three methods, guys. One is standard deviation method. So another one, I told you why are we studying statistics, standard deviation? To detect your outliers. Standard deviation method, there are certain formulas which you must remember for this. I'll tell you that. Z-score method and interquartile range method. These three methods, any one method you can pick up and detect your outlier. Okay? Now, once detected, you think about it, whether you need to remove it or correct it. So simple standard deviation method is what we are going to see. This will be more useful when you have a Gaussian like of a curve. You saw your histogram for price. How was the curve? Bell shaped. That we call it as Gaussian distribution. So when you have such data, go for standard deviation method. Okay? So standard deviation method is simple. You design a cutoff point. Anything less than that cutoff point, anything greater than that cutoff point is an outlier. Okay? So I am doing that. This is the formula, guys, you must remember. All of you, outliers is an important concept. I know you are quite exhausted. Last 10 minutes I am going to take it. Have a look. Three methods of outliers are very important for you. Okay? See here, what am I doing here? Lower limit, to define my lower limit, mean of the data minus twice the standard deviation. It is not always twice. That constant value will be different for different data set based on how big is your data, how well you can project your data. So because it's a very small data that it is here, I have taken there 2. If you look up to your data set that I have given you, might be 4. So it is again user dependent, outlier. You have to be very careful on what formula you are using to discuss about your lower limit and upper limit. Okay? Now, minus for lower limit plus for upper limit. Once you have defined lower and upper limit, anything that falls below that lower limit you exclude as outlier, and anything falling above also, that is also an outlier. So that's what I am detecting here by writing a method, and I got my outliers of my data. Once I got detected, these are my outliers. What I am supposed to do it is your decision. I can either impute it or I can discard it. Okay. Now, so you can ask me, ma'am, 2 standard deviations you are taking. Why? So I told you based on the data. So I tried this with 3 standard deviation. I was not finding any outliers. That was not into it. So if I use the distance with twice standard deviation, then I could trace outliers. So it's always trial and error when you are working with outliers. So use your formula accordingly. Check if you are able to trace out outliers better. With what method you are able to trace out better. That's up to you. Okay? Next. Z-score method. Simple formula it is, guys. The instance that you are working on minus mean by standard deviation. This is the formula. Use the Z-score. Again for Z-score, you as a user has to set the threshold limit, like +3 or -3. Anything above +3 of your Z-score should be treated as outlier. Anything below -3 should be treated as an outlier. That threshold limit is also in your hand. Same like how we did with standard deviation method. This is the second method. So you can see what I am doing here. This is manually I have written a code to detect outlier. It's self-explanatory. You are able to understand what I did there? Right. Next. The most popular one is IQR. Okay, interquartile range. You will calculate first and third quartile. Interquartile range is difference between Q3 and Q1. You already know this. Now, lower bound is always Q1 minus 1.5 IQR. Why? Because there's a defined formula. That's why it is a popular method. Okay. So Q1 minus 1.5 into IQR is your lower bound, and upper bound is Q3 plus IQR into 1.5. Means what? Anything beyond 1.5 times of your IQR, anything that is coming after that, will be treated as an outlier for sure. So using box plot, that's why you were able to identify outlier very easily, because box plot also makes use of IQR. Okay. And then anything lies outside of lower and upper bound is treated as outlier in IQR method. So you can see here, I think I already covered this for you, this percentiles and quartiles, so I am not going much into that. Have a look. So what did I do there? I calculated quartiles, I calculated in IQR, I used the formula for lower bound and upper bound, and I simply detected my outliers. Now we will see what should we do for our data set. These are the three methods I elaborated, right? Now, for our data sets, guys, if I am using standard deviation method, then I prefer to take 4 times the standard deviation because it's a very huge data set. Okay? So I am preferring 4 SD, 4 standard deviation. So you can see here, guys, what I am doing, lower limit, price as my column, mean value minus 4 times standard deviation value of my column. There I took 2 in that small data frame. Here I am taking 4. So it is again user specific what you are using there. If you are not finding enough outliers here, reduce it. Make it 3. Then try to detect outliers. Okay? So here I am taking 4 and upper limit is this. I am printing them and I am creating a new data frame so that I don't, change the data that I am having, I am working with. So I am printing a new data frame without these outliers. So you can see here, what did I do? What did I do? Can anybody tell me here? I created a data frame which should have all the values of price which is greater than upper limit and lower than lower limit. Excluding them, including them if I have got, so what did I get here? How many outliers did I get? 3 outliers I got in my data set. Did you get that? How did I detect my outliers in my price? I simply set a lower limit with 4 standard deviation. Minus will be the sign you will be using for lower limit, plus for the upper limit. Once you got that, I created one more data frame where I could save my outliers. So what did I do? I simply took the data frame that I was working and I put a condition, anything above upper limit, anything lower than lower limit, put it into another data frame, and I got 3 outliers out of it. I detected them. Then next is what? Removing outlier using IQR method, I will show you. Standard deviation method is over. For IQR method, same. Lower limit is going to be, first find out 25th percentile by using quantile method. I am using one more new method here called quantile. I am giving 0.25 because that's my lower range for IQR. Higher range for IQR is 75%. Calculated lower limit, upper limit with the formula I just discussed. And I am trying to get what are my upper limit and lower limit values. Now we will detect our outliers. Check here. Using Z-score, this is the formula, right? What is the formula? Entire weight minus mean of the weight by its standard deviation. So these 3 methods, any one method you pick up and you detect your outliers. After that, create a new data frame after you have detected the outliers and work with it. Is this okay with you guys? And how did I find out the outliers there in Z-score? by choosing a suitable threshold value. Anything less than -3, anything more than +3 is an outlier. Now, look at these two instructions that I have given. What is the difference? Both are reversed. Why they are reversed? Because here I am creating a new data frame where it is excluding the outlier. When I am detecting outlier, this is the condition I gave. When I don't want that values, I should reverse those conditions. So I reversed those conditions in my data frame and I created a new data frame without those outliers. So use any of these three methods, whichever you are liking, and work with it. But if it is a Gaussian type of a data, prefer going for standard deviation method. Okay? So this is the comparative study. If you can see with price, with outliers you can see, and without outliers. See your box plot. So these outliers now have been removed. See the range, it was till 25. Beyond 30 there were outliers. So you can see beyond 25 there is nothing here. So you have successfully removed your outlier. Any method will work. Z-score method, standard deviation method, or IQR method. Whichever you are comfortable with, pick up that method and work on the outliers. Okay? Now we are done with pre-processing and EDA. Your data set is ready to be trained, to be given to a machine learning model. But then this entire data set has got 1436 rows and 10 columns. How can you give it to a model? Model should have two requests: train data and test data. So you want to prepare this model for machine learning. So the same data set you have to prepare for training, a part of it for testing. How would you do? Yes. So that's what you are going to do here is, one second. That's a manual process, but I think I will go for scikit-learn. So using scikit-learn from sklearn model selection, you are going to import train test split, which splits your data into 4 categories: training inputs, training output. Now it depends. Your data set has got only columns. There were no input, there were no output. So what did I do there, guys? I'll show you. If you get a data set like this, first you will have to select your input columns, select your target column. What you want to predict. Suppose if I want to predict price out of that data set in my machine learning model, I should make price as my target column. Remaining all of them I should make them as input features, input columns. So, and then you have to go for test and train split. Okay. So now how do I do that? Separating input columns from the data. So I separated column list. What did I do, guys, here? What you will do, from the entire data set, you will just remove price, because price is something which you want to target on, which should be your output variable, and then create features out of it. So what is features having now? All the input columns excluding price. Price will be your target column. Okay? So all the features we are going to make that as X, and price we are making as Y. Target variable always is Y. Input variables, they are all X. So that's how what I am doing. I created a variable of Y with price. Once I am done that, I am free to go for splitting. Manual process is there, or else go directly to scikit-learn. Use train X, test X, train Y, test Y, split into 4 categories using the method called train test split. We are giving 2 variables. What is X? What are the input features of your data set that you have given? Everything except price. So all your kilometer, HP, CC, fuel type, everything will be going as X. Price will be taken as your target variable, which we call it as Y. Test side is 0.2. What do you mean by that? 20% randomly from that 1436 rows will be taken for testing. Remaining 80% randomly will be given for training. So that they are generated uniformly, you have to give a seed value, which we are giving here as 4. Okay, for random generation seed, you are giving the value as 4. That's it. And you have successfully splitted your model for 148 values out of your 1436 you are taking for training, and 288 values out of 1436 your data set you'll be using to test your data. Okay? And now your train and test sets are ready for machine learning. So are you clear? Given a data set, how do you pre-process it using ADA, NumPy, Pandas, and then give it to machine learning model? If you don't refine and give, because of outliers, because of missing values, your accuracy will be affected drastically. Okay? So before she takes over, actually you have to work till here. Then you can apply any machine learning model like regression, classification, or you can go for deep learning, whatever you want. Clear, everybody? So one quick review, if you can tell me, what did we do for pre-processing? How much do you remember? First, explore your data. And I would say, as data is this, try to visualize them. That gives you an idea. Huh? And then what you will do?
Identify the missing values.
Directly missing values. First, head of the data. Check what columns are there. Tail of our data. Some random samples of the data. Check for information. Index also. Check for that. Check if in your head there is an extra column. Bypass the index column. Start working with your data set. Check information or data type separately if you want. I taught both the things to you. Information, if you check overall information with data types, you'll get. In that, which one should be int, float? Which of them are showing objects? If it is object, there's some problem with it. So work with identifying. How would you identify that problem? Using unique method. Try to get unique method directly through Pandas or using NumPy. Again, that hint I am giving you there. Once you get those unique values, check if those unique values are special characters. If there are special characters, include them in null values. And then again reread the information, how many null values altogether. Now, null values should be imputed. By what? Missing values should be imputed by what? First, check describe of your data set. See if that column that you want to work on is normally distributed or skewed distributed. How will you identify? Mean, median, if there is not much difference, it is normal. If there is a big difference, it is skewed. If it is normal distribution, select mean. If it is skewed distribution, select median. If it's a category, select mode. Mode, again you can go for two types. Two methods. Value count method, directly you will take it with an index 0. And and if you want to remove any missing values, what you will do? Drop now. If you want to impute your missing value, fill now. Okay. Fill NA method, drop NA method. Okay. Once you are done with that, you should even be very careful about the data type of category. If it is int or float, convert that into object. Again, to that categorical data, missing values impute with mode or value count. After that, think that label has to be encoded because machine cannot understand those names. So label encoding or one-hot encoding, either manually or by using sklearn, that is your choice. And even after that, you have to again change the, first before you use those label encoding, what you must do? Change the type to category. Data type should be changed to category, then only you can go for label encodings. Okay? After it is done, what is the other thing that you are left with? Outliers. While you are visualizing the data, go for box plot method. That will help you to identify with outliers. How will you detect outliers? Above maximum, below minimum. What are the methods that are there to detect outliers? Standard deviation, interquartile range, z-score. If it is a Gaussian data, which method should I take? How would you use standard deviation method? By setting lower limit and upper limit. You will use mean minus number of times standard deviation. How will you use that number? Based on the data set and work with it. If it is 3, if it is not identifying, go to 2. Okay, decrease it so that it identifies. Once it identifies, that's your formula. Okay? Okay, if it's a Gaussian data, you will use standard deviation method. You detected outliers. Anything less than that value is an outlier, minimum value. Anything more is that. Once you got outlier, what you will do? You remove it from your data frame. Okay, create a new data frame by removing your outliers. Okay, then what is the next method? Next method, z-score method. What is the formula that you are going to use for that? Calculate the z-score using the value that you want to calculate for minus overall mean of that column by standard deviation. Check that value with a threshold limit. Set it as +3 or -3 and check. Anything above +3 is an outlier, anything below -3 is an outlier. Remove that thing from your data frame. Third method, the most efficient one is interquartile range. Again you will have lower range, lower bound and upper bound. And then discard anything that is coming into that, that is coming beyond upper bound and lower bound. So outliers will be successfully detected and removed. After that, you first decide what variable must be made target for your machine learning model. You remove it from your data set, put it as a variable y. Remaining all you put it as variable x. X will be input features, y will be target variable. Look at the terminology that I am now using. Variable with respect to the feature. So target variable is y that I want to calculate. If I want to predict price I kept it as my target variable along with all the input features as x. Depending on the data set, if it's an average data set, you go for 20% of its value as test, remaining as the more values you have for training, the better will be your model. Don't go for 50-50. Okay? So better you go for 0.3 or 0.2, that's it. And then you work with it. You can improve accuracy by changing your split also. Vary the split, the accuracy also will change once you build your model. So once this is done, you are now over with your pre-processing and EDA. You should go for machine learning. Everybody, are you clear with the methodology that we did with it? You all now should be in a position to tell me why you should read stats, why you should read maths, why you should read probabilities for understanding data science. I gave an overview. Probably Yunus sir will take over mathematical concept of all of those things. I didn't go much in depth because that again session is there for you. I just went with why they are useful and how you can use them in your data frame. Entire mathematical methodology will be explained to you by Yunus. Okay? Yeah, thank you all for your patience, guys.